Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. That's my guy.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. A little bit of a different reaction to start off, but hey, man, 2-0 is 2-0. Here to recap everything with my guy, Tyler. Tyler, what's up, man? How are you doing tonight?
Oh, doing fantastic. If I've got to stay up till 10 p.m. to do anything, it's watching the Chargers win. So I don't mind at all. I'm excited to talk about 60% of this game.
Maybe 70%. We could give it 70%. I feel
6 or 70%.
6 or 7. Yeah.
God.
Can you tell you that we are two educators? Oh, my goodness. But yeah, man, the Chargers are 2-0. They sit atop the AFC West. They are officially the favorites to win the AFC West as of today. That was before they won. Now that is definitely the case after the Chiefs are 0-2, Broncos 1-1, Raiders 1-1. Chargers coming to you tonight with a 20-9 victory. They low-key tried to give this game away, but Jesse Minter, Derwin James, Dan Henley said no dice there. I certainly want to get to the defense, and I certainly want to get to all of that. But before we do, of course, I have to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. Got to pay the bills. You guys know how it is. PrizePicks is the best and easiest way to consume daily fantasy sports. And this episode and every episode of the Guilty as Charged podcast are brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Don't miss any of the excitement this season over on the PrizePicks app, where it's good to be right. We want to make sure you guys go and download the app today. Use the code GUILTY to get $50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that is code GUILTY to get $50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Unfortunately, you can't do pass breakups on PrizePicks. Otherwise, you would have gotten way on the more on that selection tonight. You made a joke about the Chargers pass rush. Fortunately, Khalil Mack goes out to injury, with an injury. So we'll talk about that as well. But I mentioned it. So let's touch on the defense first. Tyler, what did you make about the way that they played tonight and the way that they shut out the Geno Smith deep ball tonight?
I mean, it's perfect because you and I opened our preview show talking after the review of the Raiders offseason about Jesse Minter versus this group. And you and I focused on 2 points. Yours was limiting the explosive passing attack, and mine was just like rotating coverages, forcing errors, forcing pressures by Geno Smith. And I'd say boxes checked on that one. I mean, Geno Smith threw for 219 yards last week on passes over 10 yards. He had 0 yards on passes over 10 yards this week. I mean, nothing was working down the field, and he threw 3 interceptions. I'm sure threw at least 1 or 2 other turnover-worthy plays there as well. Nothing was working. This entire explosive passing attack, like I know they didn't play the 85 Bears over there last week, but they were lighting up the Patriots. I mean, Geno had 340 passing yards, whatever it was.
Yeah.
They were going for it. They got 8 plays last week over 10 yards against the Patriots. And for the Chargers to do what they did tonight without Khalil Mack for most of the game, obviously without Denzel Perryman, without Elijah Molden, I mean, genuinely impressive stuff. It was, not the greatest opponent across from them, right? But they had a big task in front of them, I think, based on how the Raiders played last week. And one of Minter's best games for sure. We'll talk about all the individual players, but Minter basically had his foot on their throats the entire game, and they were basically flawless. Like, there were some execution errors, but in terms of putting the guys in the right spots to succeed and to make a play, Minter practically batted 1,000 tonight.
Yeah, the broadcast, I thought, did a great job of highlighting just how difficult things were for the Raiders offense to get going. There were a few positive Ashton Jeanty runs and things like that. But the Raiders averaged 3.4 yards per play on the day. 3.4 after they averaged almost 11 last week against the New England Patriots. So the 3.4 yards per play, I think officially is the worst yards per play output of the NFL season right now. I'd have to go check that, but it was quite an impressive defensive performance to watch. Like, I'm sitting there watching, and like, the corners and the safeties were in the right position every single play. And Jesse Minter deserves a ton of credit for this. Steve Klinkskill deserves a ton of credit for this. And the players, obviously, we'll get to them in a second, but everything just felt so difficult for the Raiders offense. And, you know, there's a moment in that game where if Justin Herbert had thrown that interception, I might be like, hey, man, like I'm getting a little nervous here. But even after the fumble from, you know, Omarion Hampton, as well as like the jet sweep, which we will definitely get to, I was not nervous. Like I felt like the defense just was playing that well. Even without the 3 players that you mentioned, 3 starting players for this defense, and it just doesn't matter. So big shout out to the players, but they took the most explosive offense in the league and completely shut them out today. So I think Jesse Minter is, to me, the story of this game, and the way that he coaches and schemes things up. And, you know, they lose Khalil, and there are multiple, you know, just like classic Ravens fire zone blitzes. You know, he uses Derwin James as a picker on one of them. He sends Cam Hart on a corner blitz. He sends Tarheeb on a corner blitz, manufacturing pressures at the right times. And so it was a great defensive performance. I think, considering the opponent, probably one of the better ones in over the last few years.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. And it was already a great performance. And my second thought after, oh goodness, you turned the ball over, is just like, okay, I feel bad because the Chargers defense might give up even a field goal here or something. And I feel bad because they've done such a great job all night. It sucks that they might not be able to like seal it. And then they did. I mean, they're after the turnover on downs, which again we'll talk about that play for sure. And after the fumble, I mean, they allowed 19 yards on those 2 series of the Raiders. I mean, which is it's genuinely like unfair for a defense. Like you wouldn't fault the defense for having to go back onto the field and go, okay, here we go. Like we're at our 35 or we're at our 40 or whatever it was. To give up only 19 yards is just so impressive. So not only do they have a great night, they capped it off with their best drives when they absolutely needed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chris Fowler pointed this out. At the time, it was 12 passes defended. The Chargers finished with 15 passes defended tonight. 15. I can't remember the last time I've seen a number that high in a game. So Deion Henley, what a game overall. 2 passes defended from him, from Tarheeb, Derwin, Thule had 2 apparently, Tony Jefferson, Alohi Gilman had 2, Naquan Jones had 1, Dante Jackson had 2, 15 passes defended, 3 interceptions. Like it just felt like the coverage unit was in the right place on every single snap. And again, the players definitely deserve credit for that. But we've seen this from the Chargers defense. And I always like go back to, you know, you can tell great coaching is happening when you're in the preseason and there's no coverage mistakes, or when you are signing Marcus May in week 13 and then playing him 68 snaps the next week against the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's your 4th highest graded defender. Like we're going to get to the players and their performances, man, but Jesse Minter is slowly approaching like best coordinator the Chargers have had in my lifetime as a fan. And I think that he is truly just next level when it comes to communication and game planning and putting people in the right, positions, no matter who you are. They're playing Justin Boygby on the fly on the edge tonight, after he gained 20 pounds in the offseason so he could stick at defensive tackle. Then he's playing edge rusher tonight because Khalil Mack gets injured. And you can't tell a difference. So Jesse Minter, we better cherish him while we have him, Chargers fans, because I don't know how much longer he can go under the radar. He got like 1 interview request last offseason. He said no. I think he's going to get like 5 interview requests this offseason. I think he's going to be the head coaching candidate of the cycle. So, yeah, man, like we should cherish him while we have him.
Yeah, this to me, we sort of felt like this was on the way, and they have much more difficult offenses in front of them, but 2 primetime games where you are looking pretty darn good against the Chiefs, and absolute elite against the Raiders after a season where you already look good. I mean, if I'm a team looking for any kind of help on defense, to know that you can take essentially, I mean, I'll give Joe Ortiz credit, right? They're like Tarheeb still, these guys, these players are out there. And that's partially, on player management, but like you said, you can just take anybody on any point of the defense, the last player, the star player. They all just play great. I've never seen anything like it. Like there's like an aspect of maybe like Phillip Rivers and Justin Herbert, because they're the quarterbacks, can make a receiver shine. But it's other than that, I don't usually see any player you throw in this defense turning out and panning out like pretty good at minimum. The best versions of themselves. Even if they're not great or not elite, they are the best versions of themselves, with Jesse Minter, with Klingscale, with Bowman, with Elston. Just the fact that we know all these position coaches' names just speaks to like how great each of them are.
Yeah.
Does everyone know the Chargers running back coach's name? We do, but like we don't.
I do, because he coached at my alma mater.
Yes. Hugh McDonald. But you know what? Okay, we know the receivers coach's name. You know, I guess we know Nick Hardwick. You know what I mean? Like we sit here and we're able to just know how good these defensive coaches are. It's a masterclass. It's a masterclass, probably really truly every week, given the talent that's on this defense, which again, like we say it, there are star players. It's not a heavily talented defense. What Minter does is just, it's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, and you pointing out the position coaches. I mean, Naquan Jones was a healthy scratch last week. They decided to play him instead of Otito Ogbonia, and he was lights out today. Had a batted pass himself. He had a couple key run defensive supports, couple key pressures. Jamari Caldwell has his first career sack, a couple other good rushes. You know, he drew a hold. So this defensive coaching staff is so good. And we got a lot of questions, a lot of doubts about Dante Jackson and Benjamin St-Juste, you know, during the preseason. And Dante Jackson logs an interception. Granted, it wasn't, you know, it was more about Derwin. He had a couple other passes defense himself, a couple great tackles. Benjamin St-Juste was like very rarely targeted, so we'll see. But like, you know, he wasn't giving up big plays. Unfortunately, Cam Hart gets injured again tonight, but he was awesome. Yeah. So just again, the coaching that the Chargers experience is truly next level, and it just seems like they're putting everybody in the right positions at the right times, all the times. And then the Chargers players are going out and executing. That might be my favorite Derwin James game I've watched. Like the run defense, the blitzing, the coverage. Like they did a really good job highlighting his pass breakup that led to the Dante Jackson interception, and I still think they undersold it. Like he was essentially working as a Tampa 2 coverage dropper, and then he carries the Raiders' best receiver up the seam and then breaks the ball up at the high point. Like just an unreal performance from Derwin James. You know, outstanding performance from Deion Henley, who was sick and looks to me like he is truly making the all-pro leap. So you kind of felt, you know, Khalil goes down, players need to step up, and Derwin James and Deion Henley absolutely answered that call.
Yeah, they did. I won't say it's my favorite Derwin games because of some of the missed tackles, and those will show up. But like you watch the big moments when he really got to affect the game.
Yeah.
And that's where you see like Derwin James and those great moments and who he is. But Deion Henley, again, like if players just need to get sick before every game and that's their vibe for the rest of the season, like please have at it. Go lick a toilet seat or whatever you got to do. That I think was Deion Henley's best game. Maybe not. So I don't agree with Derwin James, but I think that's Deion Henley's best. 10 total tackles, 7 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 passes broken up, and a quarterback hit. That sack in particular, which I thought was going to ice the game, which I guess, you know,
same.
That sack in particular, just shot out of a cannon, bat out of hell, unbelievable effort from him. And you saw him a couple times again, like Becton last week, having to get oxygen, towel over his head, you know, huffing and puffing out there. He was absolutely trying to work his ass off. And now this is a player that, you know, the film community has loved his film. We've loved the film. Generally speaking, the per play stats are there. But now you've got the sacks. Now you got the interceptions and stuff like that. Like he is ascending to a player who's going to be a Pro Bowler, all pro kind of player. Fantastic night for him. Tarheeb still like in coverage, I think generally was pretty good. Got away with a couple for sure. I Raiders fans, I genuinely
that was definitely a pass interference he got away with.
There were like 3 or 4 calls in this game. I understand if Raiders fans are complaining after this one. Now they didn't lose by 3, you know, so I don't think it really would have mattered in the end. But I understand why Raiders fans would be upset. But the tackling from Tarheeb still, the physicality,
Yeah.
some of the other pass breakups he had anyway. In a game like this, I don't know. Like Christian Fulton had some good games last year as a tackler, but the 7 solo tackles from your corner, a tackle for loss, 2 passes broken up by Tarheeb still.
Yep.
That's something at least we had acknowledged was good about his film. Like, okay, got good tackler. Like
it was our favorite thing for sure.
Special teams, aggressive, physical, all that's there. Great. The coverage stuff has been a complete surprise for all of us, but he was just fantastic tonight. Just a lot of players stepping up.
Yeah, the tackle for loss that he had on Ashton Ginty on the perimeter, dude, insanely good. Like Ashton Ginty is making Derwin and Tony Jefferson miss in space, and Tariq still is just like, nah, man, I got this. So I'm curious to see what the film says. It seems like they really have honed his role. He plays a lot of cover 2. I feel like he's so good in the flats. I would like to see him, get some more opportunities to, get some pass breakups and things like that to truly like take the next step. But, they're dialed in with Tarheeb's role, and he is such a good tackler in space. It's truly, truly a pleasure to watch. He's good in run support now. Last year, I felt like that was kind of a weak point of his. So that's taking a step forward. So I didn't want to put him at the same level as Derwin and Dayon, but he was still very, very good in this matchup for sure.
Yeah, he was. So now you've got a tree of corners you feel good about. I think St. Juste had at least 2 targets. I think he was targeted on the Tony Jefferson interception. Yeah, and he would have been in position for at least a pass breakup. So I think there's a couple of good ones there. Regardless, like we felt good about Tarheeb still. Wasn't 100% sure though. You never know when a full-time role. Right. Jackson, who knows? St. Juste, everyone wanted him fired, 2 weeks ago. And now it's like, they pitched a shutout. You could not throw deep. They could not throw deep on the Chargers today.
Yeah, no, you couldn't. The last thing I think worth mentioning is obviously the Khalil Mack situation with the Chargers. Instantly knew that it was not a good situation. The way that he reacted was not fun. Just the way that his arm was hanging. He ends up getting imaging done. We don't know what is the result of that imaging right now, but he obviously came back on the sideline in a sling. There's a lot of speculation going on, of course, as there always is from, social media doctors for whatever reason.
Sure.
But it does not look good. It sucks to see that Khalil is going to be potentially missing an extended amount of time because he is their best pass rusher, and he's one of the best run defending edge rushers in the league at this current point in time. Obviously, we were super excited to bring him back. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but the Chargers probably have to go do something at edge rusher. Like they were able to piece it together tonight. And I think, Thule was initially credited with like 4 pressures. Caleb Murphy had some moments, but Dupree had some moments. But this is just not, without Khalil Mack, this is just not a edge rusher rotation that you can really wrap your arms around, I think. And, if Kyle Kennard had been flashing in the preseason, that would be one thing, but he was not. So they probably got to go make a move at edge somehow. I don't know who that player is. The options are not great, but man, this sucks for Khalil. It really, really does suck for Khalil.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. Knew he was going to have a good game. Started like it. Clearly, like great sack there.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like it hit the over on the Khalil Mack sack every time you're on Prize Picks. The good news, Denver, I think usually has a good offensive line. You have the Giants, you have the Commanders, you have Miami. I have no idea who their coach is going to be in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So I suppose if it's like not super serious in terms of like long term, you can weather a storm there. But if he's out for the season and you're looking at the team you have, Jesse Minter can only do so much. At some point, you definitely need that closer. And this is an interior defensive line that is built on, being strong, being physical, but being more run defender types, power rusher maybe, but definitely not a consistent pass rush closing group. So when you're down to now, Thule, who looked good, then kind of disappeared, but then looked good. Dupree, who's really hit or miss. Caleb Murphy, who's a special teams guy, and Kennard, who's not even active. Yeah, you're going to have to make a move. If Mack is out for the season, they have to make a move We argued last week after watching the film, they should add a pass rusher in some department.
Yeah.
That's now doubly true with Mack out in whatever capacity it is.
Yeah, and it sucks. Jadeveon Clowney signed with the Cowboys literally this morning. Like that would have been the perfect replacement. But we'll see what happens there. Zadarius Smith, I believe, signed with somebody. People asking about him in the chat. Let me make sure real quick. I thought I saw that he signed with somebody.
While you're figuring that out, I guess my dad went on Prize Picks, and I did too finally. So
yeah, Zadarius Smith is an Eagle, so there's that.
Oh, that's right, because of course he is.
Yeah. So I was looking at the list earlier, and it's not great. You're talking about like Preston Smith, Yannick Ngakoue. It's not good. I think you probably sign someone like a Preston Smith, who has some kind of schematic overlap there. He is kind of a bigger guy, so he can maybe kick inside a little bit. But I think this is definitely, if this is a long-term issue for Khalil, I think they probably got to go get somebody at the deadline. And whether that's Bradley Chubb or, Kayvon Thibodeau or somebody who is potentially available for one of these teams who is tanking, like you probably got to go get that done. It would be great if the Ravens, would maybe throw their old buddy Joe Ortiz a bone and send David Ojabo over here. But, I just don't know if that's going to happen, considering Kyle Van Noy is currently injured as well. So, it sucks, man. We were optimistic about this season for Khalil, and it didn't start great against the Chiefs. He obviously had some very cool moments at the end of the game. Started great tonight, and then the injury happened. So, just wish him nothing but the best, and hopefully he's able to come back at some point later on in the season.
Yeah, with me, it's not really a great option because I think they would keep their guys, but I suppose keep an eye on the Jets in their situation, given the connection, given they've signed players from there, and given the Jets are now 0-2, which I know like new regime, but also like new regime, right? So they don't have a quarterback. It seems, unfortunately, the offense is kind of a mess. Team's kind of a mess. They're in transition. You never know. So that's maybe one group I'd keep an eye on.
Yeah. I kind of doubt they would give up on Will McDonald or Jermaine Johnson because they're first round picks, but you could probably pull Michael Clemens away from them. He's fine.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Hopefully Khalil can come back at some point down the road.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. We are going to take our first quick break for our audio audience, and then we're going to get to the Chargers offense and hopefully get back to some positive takeaways and stuff like that. So we'll be right back after this. Okay, so Chargers offense, that offense I think is the right way to put this. So the Chargers put up 20 points. We'll start with the good and then touch on the bad. So I think obviously some good moments from the wide receivers, certainly some good moments from Justin Herbert, who goes for 242 yards and 2 touchdowns, passer rating of 122. So from a positive standpoint, Tyler, what was your big takeaway from the offense tonight?
Yeah, I don't know the numbers overall for pass protection, but give it up to the offensive line one more time, especially in like the last 3 quarters or so, definitely in the second half. Other than blocking Crosby with a tight end for the 15th time in a row, in terms of the 5 offensive linemen in pass protection, again, another good performance as far as I could tell. There were several moments where it's like, whoa, Herbert's got a lot of time off of play action here. Sometimes the Raiders would drop 8. That didn't work. Sometimes they'd rush a bunch. That didn't work. I'd say for the most part, just purely based on the vibes of the game, pass protection was great. Again, like Max Crosby got his for sure. I think Joel ended up with like 2 pressures last time I checked on unofficial stats, but like that was kind of it. It was really overall a good performance. I think the pressure, some of the hits, some of the scrambles were more about coverage or like a Herbert decision more than the offensive line. Or especially early on, it felt like, okay, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. Okay, now there's a pressure from Bozeman or whoever. That's not on the offensive line. That's on the coverage. That's on the receivers, whatever. So really, I think, again, like if I spend a whole offseason talking about the offensive line, how terrified I am of them and their play, I got to give them their due.
Yeah, again, initial stats can always change, but 0 pressures from Mekhi Becton right now. So if that holds back-to-back performances with 0 pressures allowed from him, Before it went away, I think it was 2 pressures from the tackles, 1 from Zion, 1 from Bozeman, and that was it. So again, the Chargers offensive line deserves a lot of credit for how well they've handled stunts, how well they've handled blitzes, and I think Herbert has taken his pre-snap stuff up a notch as well. So he's certainly part of that. But when Max Crosby, he played insane in the run game. Like he obviously was,
good gracious,
doing his best to keep the Raiders in it from that perspective. And we can get to that in a second from the Charger side of things. But he was the player who we were most concerned about. He always is in this matchup, in particular against Trey Pipkins. He's had his way with Trey quite a few times. And tonight, they just did a great job. The Raiders did drop Crosby a few times in coverage, which I thought was a choice, but they chipped, they sent a running back help, they slid protection. The Chargers do this thing where they'll do like a fake play action counter and somebody will pull across the formation, whether it's Zion or Bozeman. And for whatever reason, it usually works, and the opposing defense just kind of can't figure that out. So the offensive line definitely deserves some credit for how they pass protected today. Run blocking is probably a bit of a different story, which I kind of want to wait and watch the film a bit. But I agree with you, man. I think it would be really hypocritical of us to not give them credit for the way that they've played over the first 2 games.
Yeah, genuinely impressive. So let's say it's, was that 6, 7 pressure? Oh God, I did it again. Anyway, 7 pressures from Chargers offensive line. And
I hope your students are watching this and cut it out. And then
they are. If you are, you would go do your homework. But yes, if let's say it's 8 pressures, fine, 7 or 8 pressures. I think what was the last game? Another 7 or 8 pressures, maybe. So if you tell me against the Chiefs and against the Raiders, you're holding those 2 defensive lines to under 20 pressures, I think under 17 or so pressures. I mean, that's a hell of a job. Now, I think next week is the test, although I guess you can run on them.
It was 12 pressures allowed last week.
By the offensive line or everybody?
Oh, good call. That was everybody. So Najee allowed 1, Amarian allowed 1, so 10 from the offensive line.
Okay. So let's say
excuse me. Matlock also allowed 2 last week. So 8 from the offensive line
2?
last week.
Jesus Christ. Anyway,
yes.
Let's
8 last week, 7 this week, I think.
All right, let's say 15, look, somewhere between 10 and 20 pressures and more than 6 or 7. Hypothetically, some fucking number, okay? And it's a good number. That's good. All right, I'm done with this point. I'm moving on.
Oh man, the point is the offensive line played really, really well.
Yes.
Up until the very end of the game, man, I really liked the way that Greg Roman was calling the passing game. And again, we see the balance of the receiving trio. So Quentin Johnston gets obviously the big play, the 60-yard touchdown, which was huge. It was obviously kind of what opened up the game for the Chargers. So he goes 3 for 71 on the touchdown. Keenan Allen 5 for 61 on the touchdown. Land McConkey 5 for 48. Trey Harris 2 big catches for 34 yards. Najee Harris 2 big catches for 20 yards. So I think, I feel really good with where the passing game is at. I think they're doing really smart things. Again, they ran, I want to say, I counted at least 5 times where they had a 4 receiver set. They ran the ball out of that one time. That was the big Najee Harris. That was the big Hampton run, was out of the 4 receiver set. So I really like where the passing game is at, and I think the skill sets of all of those guys fits really, really well. The first couple drives weren't super smooth, but then they pointed out that Herbert completed 14 passes in a row. So the passing game you feel really good about. I think Herbert is just really dialed in. This receiving group, really complements each other, and I think we can all feel pretty confident that part of the offense has a very high floor. And as long as that's going to be the case, then I think the offense will be okay as the running game, unfortunately, starts to figure itself out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. You are glitching a little bit on my end.
I'm back, I think. That's what I get for trying to make a banner while you're talking. Anyway, who would have thought? You asked me 2 weeks ago, okay, what's going to be more stable? The passing game or the run game with the first round pick and Najee? Well, granted, I didn't know about Najee in his eye, but I'm just surprised at this point that we are feeling so much better, significantly better about the pass game and not so much about the run game. So Shows how much we know, I suppose. So again, whatever Herbert and Greg Roman discussed when they went on the little buddy trip together, it worked. Can you bring the run blocking unit next time? Can it be a team trip? Because they could use some help there.
Yeah, I was going crazy with how often they were asking Tyler Conklin, of all people, to do a backside cutoff against Max Crosby. Like, just insanely bad coaching from a run game perspective. If you're going to ask any tight end to backside cutoff against Max Crosby, at least get Tucker Fisk in there. Like, he's obviously inactive again today. I think that's got to change for this offensive run game to get going. Not that he's going to solve all of the issues, but it just feels like the backside edges had such a tough time, whatever kind of concept, whether they were running left, whether they were running right. It felt like sometimes they would have like Devin White or Jamal Adams as like the backside edge defender, whether it was them or whether it was Crosby. It felt like they were always just like impacting the football.
Yeah.
And Omarion Hampton's not going to, like, he's probably going to get cooked by the fantasy community and stuff like that for that fumble. But I don't really blame him, man. Like, that was an insanely good play from Max Crosby. And at some point when you are asking a, like, frankly, like, average run blocking tight end and Tyler Conklin to block Max Crosby one-on-one, like, that's what's going to happen. So I think some of that is just the integrity of the backside was a big issue for the Chargers run game perspective tonight. So I'm going to go back and watch the tape, obviously, tomorrow. But I was not crazy about like the plan of the rushing attack. And, it took them like late until the second quarter to finally start realizing like, hey, like we have some good backs. Maybe we should start feeding them the football.
Yeah.
Najee, to his credit, I thought had some like 3 or 4 really outstanding runs tonight. Hampton obviously popped a big one. But I think the run game can get there, but having Justin Herbert be your leading rusher 2 games in a row is definitely an issue. I don't want to like harp too much on it because the Chargers are 2-0.
Yeah,
but it's just not sustainable that way. You have to get the running backs going at a higher level tonight.
Yeah, I am very curious if Hampton was a more early and often focal point for the group, if he would just work better into things. Like if you're only giving him a certain number of carries, I understand you're kind of easing him in, but you're also trying to ease Najee Harrison. I don't know. I was defensive of Omarion Hampton, and we had discussed like, everyone's all sky is falling with Hampton after the Chiefs game, but there were some good things. There was one called back by a hold. Run blocking wasn't there. This game, I was definitely a bit more disappointed. The fumble, I'm 50-50 on like the one hand, look like get the football. On the other hand, it was such a bang play by Max Crosby. He wasn't really like, it's like he had it, secured it, ran and fumbled it. It was right on the exchange.
Yeah.
And that was a bit more on the run blocking scheme. But even if I think Hampton, like I give him excuses for being a rookie, hope he's better, whatever. It clearly, with the same 5 guys and the tight ends or whatever, it clearly looked a lot better with Najee Harris right now. Like as it currently stands, Najee Harris just looks, I hate to use this, he passes the eye test. He looks like a better running back out there. Too soon? I don't know. But for every single time he touched the football, even if it was half a yard or 3 yards, he just got a little bit more. He just understands right now, understandably so, as a veteran with hundreds of carries, like just how to get a little bit more out of every play. And, I know like the numbers aren't impressive, but again, if you're watching him live, the 48 yards he had, he earned every single one of those, looked good doing it. So I don't know what they're going to do moving forward, because I would like Hampton to at least get 10 touches a game to try to figure out what you have in him. But Najee's kind of earned the right to be the lead guy right now.
It certainly has earned the right to be more involved, because it felt like they were not really putting him into the game plan until Hampton kind of had some struggles a little bit there. So curious to see what that looks like going forward. For what it's worth, according to ESPN's box score, the 2 fumbles that the Chargers had are being credited to Justin Herbert, not to Darius Davis or Omarion Hampton. So I don't know if that's going to change or not.
Interesting.
But currently they are being credited to Justin Herbert. Last thing I'll say about Hampton is just like I think I think he would benefit from just being able to get into a rhythm more often. And I know that, when you have Justin Herbert and these receivers, it's tough to sit here and say, hey man, like run the football a little bit more. But it just feels like somebody like him that's a bigger back that needs to kind of like run through some people to get going. I feel like you probably need to get him some easier touches going forward. I like the way that they're using him in short yardage. I think is great. He has that ability to, just be a really difficult person to tackle, and then he can turn a 2-yard gain into a 14-yard gain like he did tonight. So I think as the Chargers are learning more about Hampton and Najee, I think things will improve in terms of usage, and I think we'll see a bit more of a balanced rotation there going forward. But it just feels like they're not necessarily dialed in with their run game identity right now, which I can understand given Najee missed, the entire training camp. Mekhi Becton missed a lot of training camp. You don't have Tucker Fisk in this game. Will Dissly was clearly like banged up at this, at some point tonight. So it just feels like they don't really know what they want to do from a run game perspective. And in the passing game, they're completely dialed in. So it's just a little frustrating to watch. Like they're 2-0, and this is definitely nitpicking. But going forward, they're going to have to really figure out who they want to be from a run game perspective, so that when they get into these better situations, like against the Broncos next week, you got to be able to close that team out. You can't give the Broncos the 2 or 3 extra chances like you gave the Raiders tonight. They have a very difficult schedule down the home stretch of the season. They can't give those teams extra 2 or 3 chances because you can't run the football. So I'm not like pushing the panic button quite yet, but it definitely is a concerning start for the run game right now.
Yeah, definitely concerning. No Slater, no Fisk. Like you said, Harris basically unavailable the entire offseason. Hampton being a rookie. It's a work in progress. So I'm glad the most important part of their game seems to be kind of handled and sorted out right now. And so I think because you have Herbert, because the floor of the passing game is so high, they'll be fine in most of these games. But like you said, got to be able to close these teams out. We'll see. I'm not out on Hampton yet. And frankly, I will not be out on Hampton for the entire rest of the year, barring just a horrendous, outing from him over and over again. It's going to be it's going to be a while, but I would like them to acknowledge they invested a first-round pick in their running back and just work with it. But at the same time, if they keep going to him and there's fumbling issues or just isn't really working that well, then I guess they do kind of have to go away from him until he figures it out.
Yeah, if the fumble was Herbert's fault, again, I'm not quite sure why that is the case.
I don't believe that. I'm more so the Davis one, I think, than
the Davis one, which we can get to in a second. But I think Hampton is still showing you enough flashes where maybe if you're not going to give him as many snaps as like week 1 where he took like 75% of the snaps, maybe this becomes more of a 50-50 situation. But he's still showing you enough flashes from a run game perspective. And then he had like 2 great blitz pickups tonight as well. So this is not a situation where he's just not executing. I think they just kind of have to figure out how to properly use him. And then the run blocking definitely has to improve as well. So, eventually they're not going to be playing Chris Jones and Max Crosby, but the Broncos have a group of very talented players, and the Giants have the best nose tackle in my lifetime, and Dexter Lawrence probably. So it does not get any easier going forward. So it just feels like the pass game, they're like, yeah, we know who we are, and that trip to Eugene maybe changed everything, but the run game is like they're still trying to figure things out, and unfortunately it just kind of is not working. And Jacob Arnell points out in the chat, I would love to see Omari Hampton get some screen touches. Like he definitely has the ability to go do that. But hilariously and predictably, Justin Herbert has the fewest pass attempts in the league that have been at or behind the line of scrimmage. So that's just not a thing for the Chargers, man. It's just not. So it's just an unfortunate part of the Greg Roman offense.
Yeah. Not tomorrow against the Broncos. It's difficult to say that the Broncos are a get-right game for a rushing attack, which I thought this game was going to be. But, I mean, Taylor had 6.6 yards per carry, 125 whatever yards it was. So hopefully next week they can. We'll see.
Yeah. Hopefully. All right, next situation here. We have to talk about this. And again, the Chargers are 2-0. We don't want to be too hypercritical of this situation. But there were, I thought, multiple errors from a Greg Roman fourth down play calling standpoint, as well as a game management standpoint from Jim Harbaugh. I did not love the end of first half situation where you're very clearly like in a position to just completely like ice the game in the first half, which is crazy as that sounds. And you get a first down at you're at the 1 yard line. You get a first down after the Tony Jefferson interception, and you have, I think it was like 58 seconds left or 48 seconds left, maybe. You have 2 timeouts. You have Justin Herbert, and they just decided to basically kneel the ball and go into halftime. And like, you know, they come out in the second half with the football. I understand that, but to me, if you're going to be aggressive in certain situations, you should be aggressive in other situations. And that was a real missed opportunity to go down and get points. You have a great kicker, officially the most accurate kicker in NFL history. Shout out Cam Dicker one time.
Yep.
To me, you should go down and do your absolute best to give Justin Herbert a chance to get more points. Like it really is that simple. So I was not crazy about that. I thought that was a really poorly executed situation from Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I understand both, obviously, because you're up by enough where it's not like you have to force it. At the same time, they dropped 8 and Quentin Johnson still got behind them.
Yeah.
I didn't expect a 70, 80-yard bomb from Herbert here, but Herbert was dialed in. Roman, the passing game seemed to be dialed in. The pass protection was there. Like you said, a field goal, because you can get to the 45, and give Cameron Dicker a shot. You can get to the 40, whatever it is. Because you feel good that he can hit those kicks for you, even though he hasn't hit like a ton of those long kicks for the Chargers. So once you got that first down, I don't remember exactly how many seconds were left, but there were 56 left when Hampton got the football. So let's say 50 seconds, 48 seconds. To me, that's enough to try to do some damage. And to watch the clock go down, that was a bit of a bummer. So I don't mind it because of what the score was.
Sure.
Just in case, you never know, right? I mean, look. Someone could have fumbled the ball, whatever. I don't know, but I didn't love it. To me, the part where I was like, I don't love this was the inconsistency with the going for it on fourth down in wherever they were, which was very aggressive, but I mean, good call at least, right? Put the ball in Herbert's hands, made the right decision, great pass protection, fired it to Keenan, 4th and Keenan was wonderful. That's great. And then you get to the 1 or 2 yard line, 1.5 yard line, and then you kick a field goal there. I don't love that. I didn't love the whole process of the fourth down that they didn't convert on, because I think the Chargers haven't run a good jet sweep or reverse or anything like the whole Greg Roman era.
It's probably since like Travis Benjamin.
Didn't Michael Bandy fumble one against the Jaguars too? Like, what? I don't know what it is. That was obviously not Greg Roman, but they can't run that. Whether it's Davis or Quentin Johnston, those sweeps take 45 seconds to develop for whatever reason, and they have not worked. And so that being your call there was a huge bummer. It clearly did not work. But to me, at that point, just punt, which I know seems kind of cowardly, but you pin him at the 1 or the 2. Geno Smith hasn't hit a pass over 10 yards in the entire game. Just milk the clock. It took them 11 and a half minutes to get 3 points, and you're up by 2 scores. Like just let the Raiders kind of dink and dunk or throw an interception the whole way. So that part was the most frustrating. That whole process of that particular one, I did not love at all.
Yeah, I think there's a place for jet sweeps, but it has to be like a quick hitter. Usually the most effective jet sweeps are under center, and it's just a quick like pop around, hand the ball off, and then that guy has the advantage of space and time to be able to get the edge. When you're 4th and 1 and you have Justin Herbert running a jet sweep from shotgun, it's a horrible play call. There's no way about it. I obviously, you guys listening to the chat, that I prefer to be aggressive, especially when you have Justin Herbert and you trust Justin Herbert. And people always say to me like, well, the defense is playing great, just punt it. I disagree with that. I think because the defense is playing great, you should be aggressive with your offense. but you call a jet sweep from shotgun on 4th and 1. Like, why? I don't understand it. Sneak the ball, do a read option. You have Najee Harris who is starting to get going. You have Keenan Allen, Lad McConkey, and I think Darius Davis deserves more touches, but a jet sweep to him on 4th down when he has not touched the football at all in that game, to me is really, really poor play calling. So the Chargers offense and decision making did not cost them in this game, but if they continue to do that going forward, it could cost them in a game. And I am very pleased with Jim Harbaugh, but the game management issues are tough sometimes. I will never support a field goal kick from the 2-yard line. That's just not who I am. And Jim Harbaugh knows way more football than I do. But you go for it on 4th and 2 from midfield. Justin Herbert has a huge play to Keenan Allen, and then you do 3 run calls from the 2-yard line, and then you won't go for it on 4th down with Justin Herbert. I didn't love that. You had a real chance to blow the Raiders out, and winning by 11 points in the NFL is a lot, but you had a real chance to maybe make this 28-9, 31-9. And I just feel like they left some points on the board tonight. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, totally fair there. I think at some point too, whether it's at the goal line, running it 3 times, right at the middle, and not the run blocking just really not working so far, whether it's a jet sweep, I think Herbert looks pretty good as a runner. And so I'd love to see him get involved in any capacity there. I don't need him to run it every time. I don't expect him to be Josh Allen and run it over and over and over and over again on these 4th downs, but give it a whirl, give it a try. He makes the right decisions pretty much every time he's out in the open and scrambling. Even if it's a boot out and you're trying to get to, a receiver, doesn't work, then you run, great, do that. I just think he should be more involved as a runner at some point in these situations.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Tyler, any other final thoughts on the game before we get into some super chats here?
Nope. Let's jump in.
All right. One quick thing. Justin Herbert is rapidly rising up the MVP board. He is entering today. He was 4th in MVP odds. I think he is jumping up to 3rd after tonight. So, some interesting movement on the Justin Herbert narratives right now.
Yeah. And it's starting, the AFC is starting to look a bit more open than we would have expected. The Chiefs, TBD on what they're going to be without their receivers, but the Bengals obviously a mess. Yep. Dolphins are a mess. Apparently Daniel Jones is pretty good now.
The Texans are 0-2.
Texans are 0-2. So Herbert's odds will really depend on obviously himself, but on the other 2 guys, on Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So and they don't play either this year, right?
No, they do not play the Ravens or the Bills this year.
Yeah. And so the Bills are in division with the Patriots, who lost to the Raiders, Dolphins, who are a mess, Jets are 0-2. So they're probably winning their division pretty handily, arguably the 1 seed with the way things are going. So but as your point, Herbert's moving up and we're having this more serious discussion now.
Yeah, and we've known that he can play like this, but it's nice to see that the rest of the football community is catching up. Chargers are currently the betting favorites to win the AFC West. They are 2-0, and we'll wrap up tonight's show with some super chats. Our audio audience is going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to continue right along with these super chats. We got 28 of them tonight, so we will be right back. Okay, first one from Sean kicking us off. He says, 1 a.m. I have y'all on to fall asleep. BTFU. Yeah, I feel really bad for the East Coast fans. That was a late kickoff for you guys for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. I think Sean was on the West Coast last game preview or last gas game review. So he's been back and forth. Thanks for staying up and watching us for a bit. Hope you're asleep now.
Yeah. Austin right after says he has to work in 4 hours. This is now he has to work in 3 hours. So hopefully you can, inject some coffee in your veins or something like that and get the juices going in the morning.
Working 3 hours. Good luck, man. Thank you. But thank you for being here.
Yeah. Brooke and I wake up at 5 a.m. So
For
I'm not.
what?
We got to take our dog on a walk and work out, and she does her makeup and all that. So yeah, we wake up at 5 to get going, and it's not going to be fun tomorrow. She's already asleep though. She's been asleep for like an hour.
Good gracious. Yeah, I don't wake up at 5. I naturally like will wake up at 5:30 and like be up. I don't like get up and work and like, good God. Yeah, good for you.
Our alarm goes off at 5. It's more like get up and get going at like 5:15, if that makes it feel better. But
no, that sounds terrible. Okay, let's wrap up this stream then. Let's get you to bed.
I'm fine. I'm good. I'll drink some coffee in the morning. Call good. Fabio Moreno says great win. Defense was awesome. Worried about Mack's injury compounded with Perryman being out a few. Roman called a good game overall, but showed signs of last year's Romanism. I agree with that. And I appreciate Fabio for jumping in here with a big super chat.
Yeah, I think when I look back at the game, I'll go, oh, you know what? Honestly, I think Greg Roman called an overall solid game, except for the 7 times where I was like, ugh. But yeah, still better than hating the entire game.
Yeah, I still think this was probably an improvement from last year, but
sure.
Yeah, it wasn't to go from like very clearly the best Roman game ever to this one is definitely a bit of a letdown.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Cheap Argentina says Pip for MVP, not a perfect game, but surprised by it.
Yeah, I think some of the most hated Chargers players had decent games tonight. Alohi Gilman had some good moments. Trey Pipkins had some good moments. Again, not perfect games by any means, but they contributed. Trey Pipkins has been like okay, and honestly, that's fine. Even if he was slightly below average, I'd be like, all right, well, it is what it is. For him to say, let me call it above average at least right now.
Yeah,
pretty good. Sorry,
yeah,
bad timing.
Good. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Fabio back with another one says that he's in Brazil. Oh, I'd love to see our audience going in the international areas. I'm sure you had a great time last week. Says watch the game live last week and now up late this week. Stoked about this season. Love your coverage of the team and your insights. And then he says, don't get too excited about the super chat money. $1 equals 5.5 Brazilian whatever's. I don't know if that's dollars or what. And then he says good night. So whatever you send, Fabio, we are greatly appreciative of it, and we love the fact that you are up late at night in Brazil watching our show. Yeah,
no, seriously, appreciate it. What is time in Brazil right now? I have no idea, but thank you for that for sure. It's not a huge difference.
I think they're like 2 hours ahead, so it's 3 a.m. there right now.
Oh, okay.
So they're 4 hours ahead of us in California.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for being here, Fabio.
Yeah,
big fan of your hair.
Derek says you guys thought last week's show went late. Just wait. Also, they credited Herbert with both fumbles, so
yeah,
that there. I don't think we'll go 2 hours tonight. We're at 53 minutes right now, but last week was definitely unique. We said this previously, but it was our most watched show ever.
Yeah,
and it cleared the mark easily. Like I tweeted out that it was our most watched show ever, and then it got like 3,000 more views after that. So. Sincerely appreciate the heck out of you guys for tuning in and watching it. And, it's a very niche show because we spent like an hour and a half doing super chats basically. So the fact that like people who weren't here live went back and watched it does mean a lot for sure. And it shows how high the vibes were obviously last week.
Oh, the vibes were fantastic. I don't know if we're going to feel those again for a while, not until a playoff win, I think, but it felt like a playoff win party. So yeah, thank you for everyone who watched.
Sean says, Tyler, missed your question after my super chat last week. Was on the West Coast for Homie on a reality TV show. Interesting. That I also got to be on. Wedding planning starts after a trip to LA game when I get back to DC area after that.
Yeah, he did share in the Discord. We got info in the Discord about this. Not the info most people are signed up for, but yes. Yeah. I don't know if he can share, so I guess I won't say it, but he did in the Discord. But I'm excited to see this episode. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, between Sean and Jay Herbo, we got some, gossip stuff going on in the Discord that I never thought was going to be happening when we started that.
Hey, whatever brings people to it, it's fun.
So shout out Sean jumping in here. Shout out Jay Herbo. I don't know if he's in the chat right now, but he's your guy if you have any questions regarding your quarterback's relationship stuff. Jay Herbo has got you covered. Stephen Gallard says it wasn't pretty, but I'll take an ugly win any day. I don't know if it classifies as an ugly win. Like if they had won 12-9, that would be ugly. But It wasn't my favorite offensive performance, but they obviously took care of business. I just felt like the defense never was really going to let the Raiders get going. So they definitely deserve a lot of credit for tonight.
Yeah, like A minus, B plus kind of win. I'll take it. Ugly wins are the Chiefs. The Patriots win where Brandon Staley beat Bailey Zappi.
It's like 6-0.
Yeah, something stupid like that. That was ugly.
Yeah. Josh Halverson says, should the 1972 Dolphins be worried?
That's right, man. They should be. I mean, the Chargers will not go undefeated, but I'll take it.
Yeah, we will. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man says, I'm glad we 2-0, but that offensive performance worries me, and losing Mack too. And this run game got to be better. We need to clean up a lot on offense.
Yeah, they definitely do. If Mack is gone, let's say for the season, and it's worst case scenario, that is, two of your 5 best players in Rashawn Slater and Khalil Mack. That will chip away at your ceiling of your team. So they've held it together so far, but you have to go play the Bills. You have to go play the Ravens. You need your best players, and hopefully Mack can come back this year.
Yeah, hopefully. I guess like the silver lining is that this is happening now, and again, we have no idea what's going on here, but the playoffs are a few months away, so hopefully he can be back for that. New Jersey Savage says, W's in the chat. FTR. I know everyone thinks Minter is going to leave us because he's so good, but Spags has been great in KC and hasn't left them yet. Minter could be like that for us, and he stays here.
If you pay anybody enough money, it's definitely possible. As Ben Johnson may be finding out, it could just be more fun to be a play caller and a coordinator. But Spags was a head coach.
He was a head coach twice, and they were the St. Louis Rams and the Giants. And his winning percentage is like 30% as a head coach. So that's why he is still in Kansas City.
Yeah, and they're paying him a ton. I'm pretty sure. I think he's just one of the most highly paid coordinators in the league. So I think Minter will want to give it a go. I could see him staying another year because of, why you don't have to leave. Is you're in a good spot. In theory, he could have the best defense ever next year if they add talent. But if someone goes, hey, here's $10 million a year to come coach my team, set your family up for the rest of your life. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a lot to go, that remains to be seen, I should say. But there were some people online were like, oh, like Jesse Minter should go coach the Dolphins next year. He's not doing that. Like he's not going to go rush and take any job. Like he is going to be selective about this. He turned down a job interview last year. So I think he will wait for the right opportunity. And if there are no right opportunities this offseason, then I think he will stay. But if there's a great opportunity out there to be a head coach, you don't get many chances to be a head coach. And for every Ben Johnson who does ultimately get that choice, Byron Leftwich was, considered a great head coaching candidate. And then the next year he was fired from the Tampa Bay offensive coordinator position. And now he's not even in the NFL coaching right now. So you only get one chance potentially to be an NFL head coach. And if Jesse Minter feels like there's a great opportunity out there to be that, I think he will take it. But I don't think he's going to rush and take a horrible situation like the Dolphins, who are potentially rebuilding next year. And the owner is very, very involved in their coaching decisions and everything like that. So we'll see. I think the Chargers should definitely give him a raise in the offseason and do everything they can to keep him around for another year. But I'm not going to be surprised if he ultimately takes some job to be a head coach somewhere else.
Non-zero chance it ends up being Tennessee next year, just because he's so many roots to Tennessee.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
But they also suck.
They also suck. But like, they just drafted Cam Ward. They have a new ownership group. They're potentially building a new stadium. That's a pretty good job. The Giants, I guess. I don't know. That's a really horrible offensive roster outside of Malik Neighbors. So
yeah,
I don't know. He's going to be selective. I don't think he's going to rush into it. He's probably the top head coaching candidate right now. We'll see about some of these offenses. Like the Buccaneers offense has pumped out 3 head coaches in a row. Yeah. So we'll see about the new guy this year in Tampa Bay. But I think Minter will be if not the top guy, he will be second or third.
Definitely think so.
Haroon Ahmed says D-line was such a surprise. They played awesome tonight, and multiple of them. And Mike Elston is another coach who deserves a ton of respect. And they're not getting like a dominant performer, but there's just these flashes from each of them at the right moments, and it's just such a treat to watch them kind of be rewarded for the way they approach that position this year.
Yeah, no, Elston's great, fantastic. Oh, they are a surprise. I shouldn't be surprised at this point, but I still am considering the talent.
Yeah, that's fair. Mr. Sorrow with a big super chat says, glad they rewarded me getting up at 4 a.m. with a W. FTR. What a day for the defensive unit. Let's go beat the Donkeys.
Yeah, man. You beat the Broncos with 3-0 to start the year. I mean, you're making plans. You're making postseason plans at that point.
Which is kind of crazy after 3 weeks. But
yeah,
if the one thing I will say, the unit that can help themselves in terms of my belief next week is the offensive line. If they perform like they have over the first 2 weeks against the Broncos, who they give them a lot of points, a lot of rushing yards, but they're lapping everybody in pressure percentage right now. Like Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, those guys are crushing it when it comes to pressure percentage, total pressure, stuff like that. So if the Chargers offensive line can hold it down next week, I will start to believe a little bit in the revolution, I guess you can say.
I'll do a full apology. If they do what they did the last 2 weeks, I'll do a full apology tour for the first 10 minutes of the show about Mike Dufflin and everybody. Like
justified.
That'll be a justified apology on my behalf.
Yeah,
on their behalf.
100%. Anthony says, give Minter a blank check. Let him take over after Harbaugh.
Harbaugh will coach until he dies on the field.
Yeah.
When he's 150. So
I think you could convince like Steve Klinkscale to be the head coach in waiting. Maybe. I don't know. We obviously would have to see him as the defensive coordinator, how that looks, but
Greg Roman. Can 100% say that is not a small possibility.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I believe that, but next one from Blake here says, can we appreciate K13? Herbert Allen equals Gates Rivers.
Yeah, man. Keenan Allen, another good play from him. What did he finish it today with? 50-something yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
Just another good game from him. Wasn't the game I thought it was going to be, considering I thought it like started pretty good. But 61 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 catches. That big 4th down conversion looked good. Almost 3 games in a row now almost 2 games in a row with 3 receivers over 50. McConkey had 48, but yeah, it was a good game from the receivers.
So Keenan Allen has 12 receptions through 2 games. So at this rate, he's going to pass Antonio Gates' record for receptions in like November.
Possibly.
That's pretty cool, man. I don't know if he'll get the yards. Like he's playing incredibly well, but I don't know if like the yardage upside is there with this group. Essentially the Chargers 3-man receivers are basically averaging like 60 yards a piece, over the first 2 games. So it's a very equally divided workload between those 3 right now.
Yeah.
But receptions should absolutely be Keenan's record in no time.
Totally.
Your dad, Mr. Papashoon, says the Raiders actually played tough, but your D was awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, there's definitely some fight in there. Offense had a rough going, but I think the defense played their defense again. Patrick Graham, they play well. Crosby's a freak as always. So yeah, they played all right.
I was impressed by the Raiders linebackers. Like
yeah,
as crazy as it sounds, like Devin White when he was in Tampa Bay was one of the worst linebackers in the league, and he was really solid tonight.
Yeah.
Landon Roberts has a very specific skill set, similarly to Denzel Perryman, and he does it very well. But like Jamal Adams as a linebacker looks good. So
yeah,
shocker that Graham and Pete Carroll have the defense playing well. And I think this was a uncharacteristically bad decision-making game from Geno Smith. So I think the Raiders are going to be a scrappy 7-win team this year. And, the next time these 2 teams play, it'll be a tough one again. But they just don't have the pieces yet. Like they have they have like 5 players that are actually like really, really good people, really good players. So
Yeah.
The Tom Brady situation is uncomfortable, man. I do not love that at all.
Yeah. We'll see about that one. I don't know yet.
Yeah, that's sketchy, man. I do not feel good about that.
What's your gut instinct there?
I just think so last year they restricted his access to the teams because like during the Fox week. Now he has all the access in the world with all of the teams, and he's in the coaching booth feeding stuff to Chip Kelly. So obviously, like from a film perspective, you can watch a lot and learn a lot, and I'm sure he knows how to do that better than anybody else. But you can learn a lot about tendencies by talking to people and being, in the building and walking around and interviewing and all that stuff. And now he can go up in the coach's booth and feeds the stuff that he's learning about. I don't feel good about that. That's really like insider trading level stuff for me.
Yeah, I'm genuinely shocked they even just openly had it happen where he's sitting there with the headphones on TV on prime time.
Yeah,
that they're gonna have to answer to that one, but it feels very wrong.
And there were some like big name reporters, Albert Breer and others, who were like, "Yeah, this is a little fishy. This is a little sus by the NFL right now." So we kind of said this when he decided to buy a part of the Raiders. I think he needs to do one or the other. I don't think you can do both. It's not okay with me.
Yeah, no, I agree there.
Getting back to it, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man says, "I know Max was chipped, but Pip was nice today."
Yep. Yeah, he was.
Tara Romero with the next one. The depth on this team is crazy. Even without Khalil Mack, Denzel, Elijah, we still had 2 interceptions and held them to 9 points. That's technically 3 interceptions. Jamari Caldwell, Tart, Jones, Hand, Still, Derwin, Dye, Henley, Jackson. So much depth.
Yeah, pretty cool that you can think of 1 or 2 plays per those players, and they all had their moments. As you said, what was it, 16 pass breakups?
15, I think it was. But
I don't remember the last time it was 15.
Yeah, still a lot. Dante Jackson, I thought, had some good moments today. Troy Dye didn't necessarily like stand out in a super positive way, but he's always been kind of more of like a film watch, I think. So unfortunate that people are blaming him for the injury to Khalil, but that was a freak accident, and this is football. Like stuff like that happens all the time, unfortunately.
Right.
Blake says Herbert's security blanket. He deserves fan respect. I assume this is about Keenan. Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know if Blake is still in the chat, but
yeah. Not a whole lot of Conklin tonight. A little surprised there. Did he even get a target?
No.
So he was just chipping Max Crosby and blocking him in the run game. Lovely.
Yeah. And they were doing some really cool stuff with him last week. So I was definitely surprised by that. Like they had him do fullback sail route last week on that one corner route, which was awesome. I love that. And then obviously the leak play action concept to get him out on the perimeter. So I think they should get back to that. We'll see.
Yeah.
Stephen Gallard says, "What y'all think of Caldwell Baller?" Yeah, he had 2 great rushes. I'm curious what like the run defense tape says, but they've quietly made him their 3rd defensive tackle, and he's playing a ton of snaps right now. He's playing passing down, so he's off to a really, really good start for his career.
Yeah, starting to be just more undeniable for them. Was their 60 tackle at the start of camp, and now he's like, get him out there, 3rd best guy.
The first day of Pats, he didn't even get to do any one-on-one pass rush drills because he was far down the depth chart. So he's now DT3, and it's great. He got better and better every single week. Preseason started showing out, and he's had 2 really good starts to his career over the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
Aaron Schacht says, "How do we convince the TV coverage to stop showing Jesse Minter? Nothing to see here, folks. He's ours." The way that these broadcasters were talking about the Chargers defense tonight was obviously a really good selling point for Jesse Minter.
Oh yeah, they spent plenty of time talking about how good Minter was and how he'll be a head coach. It's been a great year. Good luck, Minter, next year.
Yeah, we'll see. Richard says, I was wearing my Mac jersey. Get well soon. Go Bolts 2-0. Bring us the Broncos. Trade for a pass rusher, ? And then he wants me to say, let's fucking go.
I love it. Your thing is swearing after every win. That's cool.
Sorry, mom and dad. They texted me after last one. But, sometimes you just got to let it out.
Yeah, 70 minutes in, I don't know if they're even listening. If they are, God love them.
Nitzer says Jesse Minter Masterclass. Absolutely the case there.
Yep.
We obviously led the show there. To me, that was the biggest takeaway of the game tonight.
Easily. They were fantastic.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wow, very active super chat showing out from your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Appreciate the heck out of that. He says Cam Hart had a good bounce back game. Hope he good. Yeah, hope he's okay. He was fantastic tonight as well.
Yeah, really, really good second half in particular. I know there's a couple times last game and this game where he was picked on a little bit. Didn't love the defensive pass interference call. Of all the kinds of ways to have defensive pass interference, honestly, that was like the one they called was the most mild of them. But I thought he was pretty good overall.
Yeah, I agree. Coach Reggie says, hi guys, I may have missed you talk about him earlier, but does QJ deserve some flowers now? Anyway, love y'all. Bolt up, baby. Definitely has improved. I think you still unfortunately saw some of the same weaknesses tonight. Like early in the game, they tried to go to him on some boundary shots, which was to me a little frustrating after last week. There's all these crossing routes, and then they start today with a couple like go balls down the sideline. I'm like,
yeah.
But then his touchdown runs a great route, perfect execution, 60-yard touchdown it's great. I think he's becoming a very useful wide receiver, and it's a really nice balance with him and Keenan and Ladd. So deserves some flowers for sure. He played a fantastic game again tonight.
Yeah, first time in his career he's had over 60 or more yards in back-to-back games. So he's stacking games, which is good.
And you pointed this out. We have Arrowhead Mike Williams. We have Allegiant Quentin Johnston, apparently.
Funny. Yeah, hey, I'll take it. So, 71 yards and a touchdown this game. Was it $186 the last time or whatever it was? So, I'll take it.
Yeah, 100%. Robin Clay says, Bolt TF up. Thanks for the great content and consistency. Side note, are there any Chargers bars in the Pasadena or SGV? What is SGV?
San Gabriel Valley? Could be wrong. Did I just make that up?
There has to be one in Pasadena. I feel like there's a DHBC chapter up there.
Oh, yeah. There's no way there isn't. So definitely would be one up there.
Anybody who's looking for Chargers watch parties, I would definitely encourage you to hit up Die Hard Bolt Club. Big shout out to Karen Garcia as well, longtime friend of the show. She's organizing, I forget what she calls them, but she's getting fans together to show up at the Bolt for every single away game, and the Chargers are the only team that is granting their fans that kind of access every single week. Obviously tonight it's a little lightning rally. That's what she calls it. It's a little late night. I think the Chargers are due to get into the Bolt at like 1 a.m. I want to say. So it's a little night, but her and I think at least 15, 20 people are going to go support the team and show up at the Bolt to welcome them back to the LA area. So tonight, again, maybe not a possibility for anybody in the area, but definitely would encourage you to follow her and keep an eye out for the next one, which would be the Giants game in week 4, and be able to, get some cool access to the Chargers players and team. And, they got great pictures with Derwin last week and Dayon. So she's holding it down for sure.
They even got Denzel Perryman in a walking boot pictures. I mean, they're breaking news over there too.
Yep. Andrew says, disagree on the end of first half. 17-6 is a win. I get it. The worst case scenario for you to run the clock out is that you're up 17-6. But the best case is maybe you can go get a touchdown and be up 23-6, or maybe you can go get a field goal and be up 20-6. So I get it. I just would have liked to see them at least give them one more chance at a set of downs. If you don't get a first down after that, fine, whatever, run the clock out. But I would just like to see a little bit more aggression.
I agree.
Charlie Bujarin. Apologies there, Charlie, but let me know how to say that and I'll get it right next time. How about Dicker becoming the most accurate kicker in league history?
Yeah, that's amazing. So Carlson, I think, was 5th and Butker was 3rd. It's nice that someone has dethroned Justin Tucker of all individuals for number 1. So now number 1 is Cameron Dicker.
Yeah.
Great guy, great story. And yeah, only player over 90% right now on that. It's nice because I know Kuz had his struggles, but he was top 15 and Lambo was top 10. And so it's just like, oh God. Well, there was a time where it was like 3rd and 5th were former Chargers kickers that they had. And so it's nice that Dicker is now back up there atop of everybody.
I think Chase McLaughlin is like going up that list as well. And he only kicked for the Chargers for like 2 games.
And they were sick.
But yeah, it just feels really nice. Like I have full confidence basically from like 58 yards and in that Cameron Dicker will most of the time hit those field goals. So it feels good. He's not Brandon Aubrey who can hit from 64
with 10 to spare.
Yeah, with room to spare. That guy's insane. But Cameron Dicker is one of the best kickers in the league right now for sure.
Definitely.
Zach Nichols wants to know if, based on what we have seen league wide through 2 weeks, any changes in your win-loss predictions?
I definitely feel better about the Miami game, the Washington game, Minnesota. That's a short week, so McCarthy having like maybe a week to play the Colts and then turning around to face Minter. Good luck.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, I have no idea what to get out of them. Jacksonville, who knows? So Dallas, I have no idea. Houston is not so good. They beat the Chiefs. So to me, I feel better about what's ahead of them. And that's partially just because I've seen the Chargers beat some of these guys.
Yeah. I'm a little more nervous, or maybe not nervous, but the Colts are definitely better than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
We'll see how much that continues. At the end of the day, it still is Daniel Jones. You mentioned Miami. I don't even know who's coaching that team at that time. We should have no idea. So I think I feel maybe a little bit more inclined to say like 12-5 instead of 11-6, but I still think I really want to see next week in particular to see how the offensive line plays against the Broncos before I'm like fully bought into the season hype. And I know a lot of people are like AFC champs, like let's go do this thing, but I need to see this, particularly the offensive line, go up against some better overall units. Like obviously Chris Jones, Max Crosby, great players, and they're doing a really great job of isolating those players. But next week it's waves. Like you have Nick Bonito, Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers. Those are all really good players. And then the week after, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter. I need to see what this offensive line looks like against waves of pass rushers, not just teams with one good pass rusher, before I'm like fully bought into the offensive line hype.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Isaac says, love seeing K13 with the toe drag swag, bolt up. He had another iconic "tell the weak ass Raiders fans to go home" quote after the game. So it's just great to see, man. Like, is he prime Keenan Allen? No, but he still knows how to get open. He still has the chemistry, makes clutch plays left and right. So it's just great to see, man. And I know that the Chargers probably did the right decision by trading him, but bringing him back to me has just been, it's been so much fun to watch.
Yeah, great to see. Great for the vibes. Great all around. It feels right.
Alvaro Diana says Patrick Machogues, Geno shits onto the donkeys and Bo picks. Well done there. Nice little rhyming scheme there. He says AFC West is ours. BTFU Bolt fam.
Yeah, I like it. Patrick Machogues, good. Geno shits is sure. Yeah, Bo picks, Mo picks, whatever you want to call it. Not bad. It's playing more like Bo Callahan.
Nice job.
Bo Callahan, the quarterback.
Yep, from draft day.
Yep. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
The shot of Geno after his third interception on the sideline, dude. He was not having a good time tonight.
That man was he was home in his brain. That was, rightfully. It looks like it. He looked like it looked on the field.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
It was a tough one. Viper King says, I have a Raiders fan coworker and a Chiefs fan coworker, and now they each owe him $20 over these games. Spreading
Nice.
the wealth, LOL, bolt up, and FTC. I assume that's FTR, but
Chiefs?
either way. Yeah, that counts too.
Yeah,
We hate both of those teams, so that counts.
Yep, hate them. My students, a couple of them bet me 67 push-ups if the Raiders would win or the Chargers would win. And I'm like, all right, I don't know if you know about the Raiders very much, but I'll take that bet. And so, guess
Can
I'm
they
not,
even do 6 push-ups?
they can do 6 push-ups. They're aiming for 67, so perhaps it'll be 3 or 4 a day or something. Who knows?
Okay, you'll be nice, I'm sure, but
No, they pick the Raiders. we got to work that Raiders love out.
You got to do it all at once. Is it
all at once?
Can they share the 67, or is it
No.
one person each? Like
this was
67?
not negotiated ahead of time. So I you can cry, you can whine, and I don't care. I am a soulless, heartless individual.
Yeah, you should make all of them do it to just be mean.
Exactly. Or they can change fandoms.
Yeah, it's not too late for them. Yeah,
Not at all.
They're in middle school. J29 says Jalen Phillips or Kayvon Tibbs as a trade option. I think the Dolphins would be inclined to keep Phillips because he's still a very young pass rusher. But then again, the Cowboys did just trade Micah Parsons. I feel like Kayvon Thibodeau is much more plausibly available because the Giants just paid Brian Burns a shit ton of money and then drafted Abdul Carter.
Yeah, I agree there. He kind of sticks out on their depth chart as an option. So I'm for it.
Yeah, me too. Andrea Schoon, Mama Schoon in the chat says, "Yay Chargers." Sorry, John.
Yeah, this is the outcome that we
game
want.
Together.
No, I watched it at my place by myself. My mom was at work till like 8 o'clock anyway, so
Nice.
Yeah, it's all good.
Nice.
But yes, yay Chargers. We're all going to the game next week.
There you go. There you go. Who is Dave? Is interesting. If you had told me at the beginning of the season the Chiefs would be in the basement and we'd be in the first, I'd be like, you a GD liar.
Maybe because like obviously there's a relationship there. Like the Chargers would beat the Chiefs, which we picked,
right?
And then the Chiefs play the Eagles, and I'd pick the Chiefs to lose that. But if you tell me after like 8 weeks that's still the case, yeah, I think I would have been pretty surprised.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I still think that the Chiefs are going to get Rashee Rice back at some point. Like Xavier Worthy was practicing this week. Once they get those two back, then we'll kind of figure out really where the Chiefs are at. But their schedule is not easy. New Jersey Savage says Chiefs 0-3. That is not happening. They play the New York Giants next week. They will win that game. But they play the Ravens, the Commanders, the Bills over the next 6 weeks. Like, granted, most of those games are at home, but their schedule is tough, man. Like they could very easily be sitting at like 4-4 in week 8 or 9, and that would not surprise me at all.
Yeah, they're a team we're gonna have to wait until Worthy and Rice come back to even know what they are.
Yeah, I agree. Dre says all pro Dayon and Tarheeb. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't know how the rest of the world is doing. I think Stingley was great tonight, if I'm not mistaken. So I think he'll take one of those spots. But Dayon,
really good.
Yeah, Dayon is going to be in the conversation.
Yeah, cornerback is tough. Tarheeb is executing his role very, very well, but he's going to have to start getting, like lead the league in interceptions kind of season to get all pro. Dayon absolutely in the cards. It's Fred Warner and then everybody else for linebacker too. Roquan's kind of taking a step back, etc. So Dayon as an all pro is definitely in the cards. If it's not first team, it should be second team. Bobby Wagner's PR firm is undefeated for whatever reason, but he was getting cooked in coverage this last week. So it should be in the cards for Dayon this year.
Yeah, I think so too.
Jacob says tight end could use some help. Gadsden active soon.
I think Fisk first. I'm very curious what the receiver distribution was tonight for snaps because we saw more of Trey Harris, I think. Yeah, at least more than the 5 snaps he played the previous week.
It felt like Keandre had that one offsides penalty, and then they were like, let's kind of pivot to Trey Harris tonight.
Yeah, because he had the sort of miscommunication on the route last week, that offsides penalty, which negated a good play this week. So I think it just happens to have been those 2 cases. I don't think Kendra Lemmer-Smith is some mistake-prone guy, but I think Trey Harris should. I mean, they tried to dial it up to him on the Harris screen, right? Or not screen, but like they dumped it up to Harris, going like a max protect.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But he's gone from 1 catch to 2 catches. So next three against the Broncos.
Yeah, it's obviously a good sign that the Chargers have that kind of depth that Trey Harris can, be your 4th option. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I agree. I think Fisk needs to be active first to help out the run game. I think eventually Conklin will just give you enough as a pass catcher, where Gadsden, it is a little redundant. I'm surprised that they have gone the 2 weeks with just the 2 tight ends active.
Same.
That would not have been on my bingo card, heading into the season. So
No.
I do agree they need probably more of a rotation there. Especially if Disley is maybe a little bit banged up this week. So maybe that allows Tucker Fisk to get on the field. But I just think they need it. Like, they need to secure their edges a little bit more. And Tucker Fisk can be that guy.
Yep. I hope so.
Josh wants to know, who on the Broncos do we want tiered Tart to personal foul? He got away with one tonight, man. On Geno Smith. He really did. He's
gonna have to watch out. I'm positive next game the refs will know who Tart is, and will be circled, and he will get the Joey Bosa treatment. Who on the Broncos should he personal foul? I don't know. I don't really hate any of the Broncos offensive players enough, and I like RJ Harvey and Pat Bryant, so I don't know. I like Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, from Mike Myers, Troy Franklin.
I kind of feel like J.K. Dobbins took the departure really personally. I would not be surprised if like Dobbins and somebody else got into it a little bit. And if that's Tart, that would not be surprising at all.
Very possible. Very possible.
So I don't know, man. Like Dobbins, he talked a lot after the Broncos signed him about taking it personally. So I would not be surprised if something happens there.
He does look good, at least.
Yeah. I mean, he looked good for the Chargers. It's just like he got injured, and they very clearly wanted somebody a little bit more consistent. So
Yep.
And then they're not using him. So
well, we made it through all the super chats. We did it.
40 super chats. That is a lot more than I thought we would get tonight. So appreciate you guys for tuning in as well.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah, it is 11:30. We are just now getting under 1,000. So we appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. We have to figure out when we're doing our film review. Our Wednesday nights for each of us are a little bit chaotic. So we'll let you know. This might be a Thursday, Saturday situation, but obviously turn those notifications on, and we'll obviously go live at some point to review the film with you guys. So Tyler, any other final thoughts before we head out tonight?
2-0 feels good. Can't be better than that.
Yeah, 2-0 is great. First place in the AFC West is great. Defense is awesome. Justin Herbert's awesome. So a lot of positives going forward. I know some of you are probably going to be a little mad that we were a little critical about stuff, but has to be said. All right, you guys, that is going to do it for us tonight. As always, make sure to leave a rating, review, comment, like. All that stuff does genuinely help grow the show. Turn those notifications on for the film shorts tomorrow that we'll be posting as well. So we had a couple blow up like crazy last week, and it would be fun to see that happen again this week. So, all right, we'll see you next time. As always, bolt up.